Alright guys, so it is April 11th, 2021, 6 p.m. Central Time here in Belvidere, Illinois. I'm getting ready to do my final interview for Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine Early Acceptance Program. To get into this program, you have to be enrolled, graduate from one of the schools that is involved in their pathway program, spend 3 or 4 years at that school at a satisfactory GPA, and you have to have a high enough ACT. And if you get in through these programs, you don't have to worry about your MCAT, and it's a streamlined process of getting yourself into medical school. So I'm going to go ahead and record this interview process today to give you guys a better idea of what questions get asked and how this works, and also so I can look back on my interview later and have an idea of how I did. So, and also this is giving me a chance to feel that the collar on my shirt is too tight. It's hard to breathe. I need to slow down my talking and breathe. Alright, so I have already tried recording some initial recordings here. I'm ready to move on to the interview. I just gotta remember, keep my breath calm and breathe. That way I can not run out of air here. Side effect of being fat. I'm only saying that because I was thin a year ago. I know the difference now. It's no fun. Alrighty. Alright, we are continuing on to the next page. The bird, unfortunately, is in the background here of this process. Alright, so you only have one attempt to record your response. Pandemic stuff. I'll see the question after I open the recorder. Tell us about yourself, your accomplishments, awards, hobbies, jobs, school activities, how you relax and have fun, extracurricular experiences, etc. So, what am I going to tell them? Alright. Hi guys, my name is Thomas Carr. I am the father of a 10-year-old daughter. She's absolutely wonderful. Graduated from high school in 2010. After high school, sorry, a little bit nervous. After high school, spent some time working a field service technician job. Had my daughter very young. Had always had plans of going to medical school, but unexpectedly had my daughter quite young, so it took me a while to be able to make sure that I was stabilized to a point where she was taken care of and I could, go to medical school. So, spent some time working in field service. I have basically done that since I've been out of high school in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's doing cabling or putting together furniture, putting together medical equipment, installs in hospitals and labs. That's what I've been doing the past several years. I get to spend quite a bit of time in the facilities. It's really nice to build them up and see what they turn into from start to finish during the construction process. As far as hobbies, I really enjoy hiking. Running. Haven't done as much of it over the past year as I, would have liked to, but, pandemic. I've spent the past year and a half at Everglades working on the alt-med program. As far as extracurricular experiences and stuff like that, I enjoy spending time with my daughter. going to school and taking care of business, really. You know, when you have a family takes a big part of your life. Oh, yeah. All right. All right, next question. Which program are you pursuing, medicine, dentistry, or pharmacy, and what have you done to make sure this career is right for you? All right, so I am pursuing the medicine degree. I took quite a bit of time to think about over the past several years and even over the past year what I wanted to do in medical school. You know, what kind of work or what kind of physician, what kind of whatever. I have thought seriously about dentistry as well as pharmacy. Spent some time talking to a pharmacist who happened to be a customer of mine, an optometrist who was a customer of mine. I've talked to a few chiropractors. I've not had a chance to talk to a naturopath, but I've spent some time looking into, you know, what naturopaths do. I've just looked all over medicine to try to figure out what interested me the most, or what I thought I could make the biggest difference with. I guess it's so complicated. I guess what would be a best fit for my lifestyle. That's what I'm trying to say. You know, not only the personal interests of, you know, me, but also lifestyle as well. There's different lifestyle expectations that a physician or a dentist or a pharmacist is going to expect to have to deal with and live by. So for me, there are there are certain advantages to dentistry and pharmacy that a regular physician might not be able to have, like a more regular schedule and things like that, depending on what kind of physician you are. However, it ultimately came down to interest and what I feel like I would be most satisfied in the long run, and that was medicine over dental and pharmacy. Moving on to question 3. Tell us what you know about Lecom, the early acceptance program, and why we fit your career plans. All right. So I don't know a whole lot about Lecom compared to maybe some of the other kids on here or some of the other people that you guys are interviewing. I found out about Lecom through the early acceptance program and how it's connected with my school. So the long-term goal for me has been to go into medical school. So I wanted to have an undergrad that would help facilitate that while being something different than just a traditional biology degree. Everglades University has an alternative medicine degree, which gives me a taste of the alternative medicine eastern side of the practice, the profession, and would allow me to have a, in my opinion, more well-rounded mindset going into medical school rather than just having a biology degree. And alternative medicine is also something that interests me because I've fought my own personal health battles over the years, as many people do. You know, nothing significant, just things that alternative medicine has helped me with. In any case, I found out about the early acceptance program when I was looking into Everglades, and I knew that if I could spend some time at Everglades and get an idea of where I was at GPA wise, it had been a while since I'd been in school, that I would have a chance of being able to apply for this program and streamline the process that I've been wanting to be a part of all along. I spent a lot of time not knowing that this pathway program, the EAP, was even an option. And then when I found out a few years ago that it was, it's something that I've looked into for when I did decide to come back to school, to use it as a tool to get to the end goal easier. Okay, question 4. Tell us about a challenge or difficult experience and how you handled it. One of the greatest challenges that I've faced in my adult life was dealing with the challenges that COVID brought along. Everybody's dealing with them, so I don't want anybody to feel bad for me. It definitely hit everybody in a hard way, and everybody differently. I used to be a franchise owner and never expected to be brought back down to the level that I was brought back down to when COVID came. So I ended up having to go bankrupt. I lost my restaurant, and I was really upset about it at the time, but I'm actually really thankful that I was able to learn everything I was able to learn. It ended up turning out to be better that I got into franchising and then went through the failure than had I never gone through it at all, because of how much I learned. So at the time, I was a little bit overwhelmed. You never expect that when you go that far that your plans are going to be crushed. I had saved up for quite a long time and worked very hard to get to the point where I could become an owner, and that was supposed to facilitate a little bit of financial flexibility and freedom for me that would make it easier to go through medical school and things like that. Just to go through medical school. However, it didn't end up working out that way. But there's always a way. There's always a way. I'm just not a person that's ever going to quit. So it just made me stronger and strengthened my resolve. Oh, buddy. This is kind of rough. I was not prepared for this. Be prepared for your stuff. To pass a 2-week pharmacology course, you need an A on the final exam. That is being given the Monday after your best friend's wedding, that is being held the preceding weekend over 1,000 miles from school. What do you do? Alright, so when it comes down to friends and school, your future always comes first. It absolutely always comes first. It doesn't matter what is going on. It is not more important than the education and the future. Absolutely not. And there's really very few excuses that I could possibly think of that a student would try to ask for any type of leniency. And your friend's wedding is definitely not one of those situations at all. I can understand that this problem might present more of a conundrum to some of the younger applicants. You start to realize as you get older what's really important. And I'm 29 now, and by the time that you get to the point that you're 29 and you are making the decision to pursue something like this, there is nothing that's going to get in the way. So as far as I'm concerned, everything I'm focused on every single day, from a year and a half ago, from now to forward, no matter what, is making sure that I get to and through medical school, because that's what I and my family needs. And I have everybody behind me. I have myself behind me. There is no excuses. It just doesn't matter. It's like I still show up to work when I'm sick. It's like, as long as I'm not going to get anybody sick, it's just there's just no excuses. People that really want it are going to show that they want it by making sure that it comes first no matter what. Complete. Hopefully that went well. So that was the video interview for Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine for the Early Acceptance Program, which is facilitated through several different colleges. Mine in particular is Everglades University. To go through the EA, or to get accepted into the EAP program, which I obviously have not yet, you have to do an inquiry to the application, an application to the application, an initial group interview, which basically by that time they've already decided that your seat is held in the EAP program. And then you have to turn in your resume, a records release from your school or for your school, and then you get invited to a final interview. If you pass the final interview, they'll let you know, usually within 30 days, whether or not you've been accepted. If you are accepted, you're offered a conditional letter of acceptance that says you keep your grades above 3.5 GPA, you keep your nose clean, you do right, get your stuff in on time, be viewed favorably by your peers and by your professors because your interactions are healthy with them, and then if all of that stays that way, then when you graduate, you have, a month off before you transition into medical school. You don't have to do an MCAT, and they tell you not even to do one, because if you do one, you have to report it to them, and you have to get a 500, or you have to get a 500 or higher than a 500. Otherwise, they'll remove you from the EAP program. So there's a lot of people coming in through the EAP program that would not get anywhere near a 500 on the MCAT, and they're going to retain their acceptance over somebody that got a higher score, but also, or that could have got that, well, they took the MCAT, did get a higher score, higher than the person that never took it, but not high enough to get to retain the seat in EAP. So it's basically saying, if you get into it, don't do your MCAT, just do what you're already doing, and you're fine. You're going to transition. The first interview is basically, it's 2 hours long, and the first 90 minutes of the interview is discussing all of the ways that students lose their seat in the early acceptance program through, moral and ethical issues, character issues, etc. So, in any case, I hope this can be helpful or useful to someone, that they might be able to see how this process works, maybe see a little bit of what to and to not do, and just have an example to work with for your own particular journey. I will provide an update as to whether or not I do get accepted, and then maybe at that time, depending on if I do or don't, I can talk about. If I don't, I can definitely talk about some of the things that I think I know I did wrong in this interview that might be obvious when rewatching this recording, that maybe worked against me. So we'll see what happens.